The chairman just took a bite of stir-fried noodles from a street vendor. To his surprise, it tasted like the dish his late wife used to make. When he was young, he was busy with work. His wife would make him a bowl of stir-fried noodles every night. Every time he finished eating, he would encourage her to set up a stir-fried noodle stall. When he heard the young man say that he learned to make stir-fried noodles from his mother, the chairman excitedly asked the young man what his mother's name was. It turns out that 20 years ago, the man decided to go abroad to work for a better life. Before he left, he told his eldest son to take good care of his mother and younger brother. 20 years later, the man had become a chairman worth hundreds of billions. He sent 200,000 yuan in living expenses home every month. However, his eldest son pocketed all the money. He falsely claimed that his father had already passed away. He not only refused to pay his younger brother's tuition, but he also kicked his sick mother and younger brother out of the house. Just as they left, the father suddenly returned to the country. Seeing his father dressed poorly, the eldest son assumed his father's company had gone bankrupt. To find out how much savings his father still had, he respectfully invited him back home. As soon as the father entered, he asked about his wife and younger son. He said that he had come back to the country to spend his later years with his wife. Fearing that his father would find out the truth about his mother's condition and deprive him of his inheritance rights, the eldest son lied, saying that his mother and younger brother had died in a car accident. The father was heartbroken upon hearing this. He planned to visit the cemetery to commemorate his wife. However, he was stopped by his eldest son and daughter-in-law. They told him to rest first and go to the cemetery the next morning. Reluctantly, the father agreed. Afterward, the eldest son and daughter-in-law eagerly began searching through the luggage, but they found only a 1 million yuan savings book. The couple thought their father was no longer of any use to them. They planned to devise a way to get rid of him, so they called him to the living room. They demanded he hand over another 1 million yuan or pack his things and leave. The father was very angry upon hearing this. He never expected his eldest son to be so unfilial, and so, he was kicked out of the house. He asked through the door where his wife and younger son were buried. The eldest son told him to find it on his own. He could only walk helplessly down the street with his luggage. By chance, he saw a young man selling stir-fried noodles by the roadside and felt a sense of familiarity. He ordered a serving of stir-fried noodles. To his surprise, when he ate it, it tasted so familiar. But he knew in his heart that his wife had passed away. It was impossible for her to be making stir-fried noodles for him here. So, the chairman called the young man to settle the bill. He asked if the young man had dropped out of school. The young man replied that he was already a university student. He was just running the stall during his spare time to earn some money for his mother's medical treatment. The chairman also learned from others that the young man had an older brother. So, he asked why the young man's brother didn't come to help. The young man silently waved his hand and didn't respond. He didn't answer the question directly. Seeing this, the chairman didn't ask further. He scanned the QR code on the table and transferred 50,000 yuan to the young man. The young man quickly pointed out that he had overpaid. The chairman was touched by the young man's filial piety, so he paid $50,000 for the young man to treat his mother. The young man firmly refused to accept it. The chairman then suggested that the young man take him on a tour of the city the next day, and to visit the cemetery to honor his wife. The next day, the chairman went to the villa to find his eldest son. He immediately asked about the whereabouts of his wife and younger son. To his surprise, the eldest son angrily pushed him aside. He warned him that if he knew what was good for him, he should go back abroad and make money again. The chairman had come back this time to hand over the trillion-dollar assets of his group to his eldest son. But he never expected his eldest son and daughter-in-law to be unfilial, so he changed his mind and gave up on this plan. That evening, he returned to the young man's stir-fried noodle stall. Eating the stir-fried noodles, it still had that familiar taste. He suspected that the young man might be his younger son, but the young man said that his father had passed away when he was young. The chairman felt a sudden wave of disappointment, thinking that his wife and youngest son might really be dead. However, his eldest son refused to tell him the location of their graves, and since the chairman had just returned to the country and wasn't familiar with the local city, he had no choice but to ask the young man to help him search. To avoid being discovered, he gave up on driving his luxury car worth millions, and instead took the young man's electric bicycle to inquire at the cemetery office. Unfortunately, after searching several places, they couldn't find any clues. They kept busy until late at night, and the young man finally sent the chairman back to the hotel, planning to continue searching in the old town tomorrow. But blindly searching like this wasn't a good solution, so the chairman decided to return to the villa to press his eldest son to reveal the location of the grave. To his surprise, his eldest son kicked him out, threatening that he wouldn't tell unless he was given $1 million. This made the chairman furious, and he couldn't believe his eldest son had become so unfilial. In his anger, he said that even if he donated all his money, he wouldn't give a penny to his eldest son. The eldest son, embarrassed and angry, said that if he didn't get the $1 million, he wouldn't care for him when he got old. But what he didn't know was that the chairman had trillions of dollars and didn't need him to support him. The eldest son still thought of him as a poor man, telling him to continue working abroad to make money, or else he wouldn't tell him where the mother and younger brother's graves were. The chairman was pushed into the flower bed by his eldest son, and as he thought about how he had provided the villa and living expenses for his eldest son, he felt deeply hurt by such treatment. He had no other family members to rely on, so he can only call the kind young man for help. When the young man heard the chairman was in trouble, he immediately rode his electric bicycle over, only to find that the chairman had injured his waist. He quickly asked what had happened. The chairman, fearing the family's dirty laundry would be exposed, said it was just an accidental fall well and asked the young man to take him to the hospital. This scene was witnessed by the daughter-in-law, who thought the young man looked a lot like the younger brother, but the eldest son didn't think so, saying that it was impossible for his father and brother to recognize each other, seeing that his father had been injured but wouldn't even take a taxi, instead calling a cheap electric bicycle. He became even more convinced that his father was really poor. After taking the chairman to the hospital, the doctor said it was just a sprained waist and that he should rest. He also told the young man to take good care of his father. The young man quickly clarified that they were just friends, and the doctor then remembered that the young man was actually the son of another patient, and praised him for being such a kind person. Upon hearing that the young man would graduate from university next year, but that job openings were limited, making it hard to find work, the chairman lied and said he knew the president of the Dingsheng Group, and could help the young man secure a job there after graduation. The young man was overjoyed upon hearing this. Since the young man still had to take care of his mother, the chairman didn't want to burden him, so he called his eldest son to come over. As soon as the eldest son entered the hospital room, he angrily complained that his father had delayed his work, and told his father that unless he gave him $1 million, he shouldn't expect him to care for him in his old age. He warned his father not to call him again and walked out angrily. Meanwhile, the young man brought his mother to visit the chairman. Because the chairman had previously given $50,000 to help the young man's mother with her surgery, they were very grateful for his help and came to thank him. But to their surprise, when the door opened, the chairman was astonished to discover that the young man's mother was actually his wife.